Welcome to Rges Pre-Algebra, and this is Lesson 9A. We're covering 2.3 and 2.4 in your textbook. So I've written down the dry measurements conversions here, and the example of dry measurements, you would buy beans, green beans like this, or you would buy strawberries like this, those kinds of things, usually things you'd find at a farmer's market or in your produce section. So that's what we mean by these dry measurements. Okay, so I've written them out for you to memorize here, and this last line is showing you what's the smaller unit and what's the largest unit. So a pint is smaller than a quart is smaller than a peck, and a peck is smaller than a bushel. And that's a very important idea for you to get very familiar with, so that you know whether you're going to have to multiply or divide. Of course, if we're going from a larger thing like a bushel, from large to small, like a quart, we're going to have to multiply because we'll need more of these. If we're going from something small to something large, like a pint to a peck, we're going to have less of these, the pecks, less of the large one on the right-hand side, so we'll have to divide. And that's the basic principle that you used with linear and all the other measurements that you're having. So an example here would be strawberries, right? Okay, moving down then to the liquid measurements. I have the same ones. I've written out the conversion factors that you need to memorize. The only change I made here is this one right here. It did say 1 tablespoon equals 1/2 fluid ounces. I'm not sure that's the easiest measurement to memorize. If you multiply both the left and the right side by 2, you would get 2 tablespoons equals 1 fluid ounce. Okay. So which is the smaller measurement? A tablespoon is smaller than a fluid ounce. And so this is, I think, the preferable conversion factor for that one. Everything else remains the same. Again, these last ideas here are critical for you to know which is smaller, which is larger. Teaspoon's smaller than a tablespoon. A tablespoon is smaller than a fluid ounce, which is smaller than a cup. A cup is smaller than a pint, which is smaller than a quart, which is smaller than a gallon. So again, you want to have a good feel for these, which is a smaller and which is a larger measurement, because that's the idea you're going to use to determine whether, again, you need to multiply or divide. So then when you go to do problems, as in the first one, and you have 24 pecks, oops, excuse me, my thing's not writing. So the first question you have to ask yourself is, am I going from large to small or small to large? Well, a peck is the large and the quart is the small. So if you're going from a larger measurement unit to a smaller one, you're going to need to multiply. And my conversion factor going from quarts to peck, how many quarts are in a peck? And the answer is 8. So you're going to have to take 24 and multiply it by 8. Let's look at a couple more examples. We're going from cups, 6 cups, and you're going to go to fluid ounces. Fluid ounces are much smaller than cups, so this is my large unit, this is my small unit. Again, I'm going to have to multiply, and how many fluid ounces are in a cup? The answer is 8. Whoops, excuse me. So you're going to multiply again by 8. And that's the same process you're going to have to go through for all of them. Identifying which is larger, which is smaller. Let's just get one that goes in the other direction. Okay, here's one more good example. It says I'm going from quarts to gallons. Well, quarts are the smaller unit, gallons are the larger unit, so you will have to divide. And how many quarts are in a gallon? The answer is 4. So whatever you have to divide it by 4. So I could either go 83 divide by 4, or I could say 83 divide by 4, converting that to a mixed number. Okay, it doesn't simplify as it is, but it can be converted to 20 with some left over, right? All right, let's look at the problem solving for a minute. The first three are very straightforward. It says a recipe calls for 2 teaspoons, and we want to convert it to fluid ounces. Okay, so we have to decide which is bigger or which is smaller. There's remember that a tablespoon, 1 tablespoon, is 2 fluid ounces. No, I said that wrong. 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons is 1 fluid ounce, because fluid ounces are larger. So this will be a 2-step problem. In the first part, you've got to convert teaspoons to tablespoons. There's 3 teaspoons in 1 tablespoon. So I'm going to, by the way, divide, right? Because I'm going from a smaller unit to a larger unit. So I'm going to divide. There's 3. So 2 divided by 3 would be 2/3. So now I'm going to put the 2/3 in the second step of the problem. This would be step 1. Step 2, I'm converting from tablespoons to fluid ounces. Again, I'm going from a smaller unit to a larger unit, so I've got to divide, and there are 2. Okay, so this says 2/3 divided by 2, or I could think of this as 2/3 times 1/2, or I could cancel and I get 1/3. Okay, so that 1/3 fluid ounce would be the way you'd handle that. For number 2, it says Mr. Garcia bought a 64-ounce jar of apple juice. How many cups of apple juice? So we have, I'm sorry, this is a new problem. It says we're going from 64 ounces, this would be fluid ounces because it's juice, and we want to go to cups. So we're going to do this the very same way you did your first problems. We have a smaller unit to a larger unit. We're going to have to divide, and how many ounces are in a cup? And the answer is 8 fluid ounces. So we'll divide by 8 and get your answer. For the next one here, we'll go to the next page. Number 3 on the word problems. Mr. Roberts grew 39 pecks of potatoes. How many bushels? So we're going to convert 39. So this is a very straightforward conversion. We have to decide which is smaller and larger. Pecks are smaller than bushels. So we're going to have to divide, and our conversion factor, there are 4 pecks in a bushel. So you take 39 and divide by 4. Recall that when it doesn't go in even like that, you're just simply taking it as a fraction, 39 divided by 4, and converting it to I would convert it in this case to a mixed number. It goes in 36, right, with the remainder. Okay, so finally the last one, number 4. This is an interesting problem because it really doesn't have to do with the measurements you're studying right here. But if your car can go 464 miles on 16 gallons, then how many miles can the car travel on 22 gallons? This would be a perfect problem for proportions. I'm going to put the miles on top and the gallons of gas below. And so if it's 464 miles on 16 gallons, how many miles on 22 gallons? And as long as both the bottoms are gallons and both the tops are miles, you could do that in the flip side and you'd find the same answer. And so you would certainly just go 16x equals 464 times 22. I would go ahead and do my bringing the 16 over and do that division so that I can cancel before I multiply the 464 out. So you get 464 times 22 divided by 4. And that's nice because that cancels. 4 goes into 464. 1, and into 24 16 times. So now you get 116 times 22. Okay. And so I'll leave that for the student. But so this is a good one for the proportion concept here. Now we'll continue on with 2.4, measures of weight. Very straightforward conversion factors. You only have a couple here to know: how many ounces in a pound and how many pounds in a ton. Ounces are much, much smaller than pounds, and pounds are much, 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 much smaller than tons. So hopefully you have a feel for that. So this is the important one to memorize so that you remember what is small and what is large to decide if you need to multiply and divide. And then our problems are just the same as before. If we have the first one, 78 ounces, and we want to convert to pounds, we're asking ourselves two questions. One is, this is smaller than, and this is larger, so we're going to have to divide. And how many ounces are in a pound? And the answer is 16. So we take the first number, we divide by 16. Recall, to divide a number by 16, you would simply put it over 16 and convert it to a mixed. For the next one, it says how many tons. Let's go to up here. We say we have 3.5 tons. And we're converting to pounds. Well, tons are a lot larger than pounds, so this is my large and this is my small, so I'm going to have to multiply by 2,000. That's my conversion factor. And so you can multiply that out. The rest, I think, are pretty straightforward to use. Same thing as far as process goes as you have been doing. And let's look at the problem solving for a minute. Number 1 says 150 pounds of tea is packed into 12-ounce packages. Okay, this is going to be a little different here. And each package costs $3.17 each. Okay, so how would we go about this? So hopefully this is logical to you, but you would first want to convert your 150 pounds to how many ounces is that? Okay. And so pounds are larger, ounces are smaller. How many ounces are in a pound? So we would have to multiply by 16, the number of ounces in a pound, and then we're going to have put it in, so that's going to give me a number of ounces, so whatever that number is, let's say it's X, then I'm going to have X ounces, but I want to distribute it out into 12-ounce packages. So if you're taking a number and you're distributing out, you're dividing by 12 to get the number of packages, so that would be step 2. And once I've got, let's say I've got Y packages, and then what would I have to do? I'd have to multiply that by the price per package. So take that Y and multiply it by 3.17 to get the final amount in dollars. So a 3-step process. Think about it carefully. Make sure you can duplicate that on your own. Now, number 2 in this problem-solving series has the same kind of multi-level or multi-step thinking. We have 6.5 pounds, okay, and we know it's 0.14 or 14 cents per ounce. So I first have to convert this to ounces figure out how many ounces there are, and then I would have to multiply. So a two-step problem. 1, converting to ounces, and 2, converting to the price by multiplication. Number 3 has 2 individual questions. It says a bale of cotton is 500 pounds. So there's a new conversion factor for you. 1 bale is 500 pounds. So how many ounces does a bale? Well, if it's 500 pounds, how many ounces is that? Okay, so we want to know 500 pounds is how many ounces. We're going to multiply, right, by 16, and so that tells me how many ounces are in a bale. Okay, and then the second part of the question says, what part of a ton is a bale? So you would take your ounces and you want to convert it to tons. Well, how do I do that? Okay, well, I would take my ounces, I would convert it to pounds, and then I would convert it to tons. Okay, I would convert it to pounds by dividing by 16, and I would convert it to tons by dividing by 2,000. Okay, so hopefully that's straightforward to you, and let's look at the last one. This number 4 is very, very similar in process to number 2. It says they've collected cans and they have 3/8 of a ton of cans, but the company pays 0.26 per pound. So not per ton, but per pound. So I need to convert tons to pounds, and then I need to multiply by my cost per pound to get the price. Okay, so I think that the rest is skill sharpening. You should be able to do that on your own. And don't forget that you do have a test on Wednesday, 1.20 through 1.45, minus those few sections we decided to skip. Okay, see you soon.